look. We're delighted to see those outcomes. So my name's Caroline Coyne. I'm the Director of Communicate, SLT CIC. And I'm delighted to be here to talk about Welcome, which has been such an exciting tool that we've been using over the past few years. So if you want to flick onto the next slide, Paul, I'll just tell you briefly about Communicate. So we're a community interest company providing flexible speech, language and communication related services, which invest in the diverse communities that we serve. We work with children 0 to 25 directly and through others to deliver those high quality evidence-based interventions so that we maximise impact where they live and learn. Our values are very important to us, and in terms of this webinar, it will mean that you will see us encouraging collaboration so that we can all innovate from the evidence of what's working well, really, and we'll be encouraging you all to collaborate and form partnerships where you are, because I think competition makes us faster, collaboration makes us better and stronger. So that's what we'll be encouraging you to do. So yes, you can flick on, Paul. I'll just tell you that we provide a range of different types of services. And I think we've been asked to do this webinar mainly because one of our USPs is working with families and early years settings. And since 2017, we've been working with local authorities to support the rollout of Welcome by supporting early years practitioners and the early years workforce to use the Welcome screening tool and the Big Book of Ideas, and to look at cohort analysis so that the results can inform wider provision within that setting and the locality. So if you go to the next slide, Paul, I am just going to encourage you, before we start, I'm going to encourage you to have a little bit of fun and interact with us and think about a question, a scenario that I have for you. So you could put your answers in the, or it might make the Q&A very busy, unfortunately, but you could just put your answers in the Q&A if you're okay with that, just a number, if you want to get involved. So if someone gave you a laptop tomorrow, brand new, all singing, all dancing laptop with a totally new system on it that's going to transform your life, what would be the first thing that you would do? So Paul's going to click on and give us the options. So would you switch it on and start pressing buttons? Would you watch an online tutorial? Would you access support from a team, from an IT team or from a colleague? Or would you read the instructions cover to cover? So yeah, the Q&A is going wild. Quite a few people are going to switch it on and press the buttons. There's one for read the instructions cover to cover. Well done, that person. Number 3, so access training and support. 3, 1, 2, fabulous. If you stop putting numbers in the Q&A now, and then I won't get told off by Verony and Paul and the rest of the team. That's fabulous. As you can see, a big mix of what people will automatically do when handed a new thing and asked to learn something new. Everyone has different reactions to what they would do first. I think I would be very much a switch it on and press all the buttons, but then I'd very quickly be seeking the support of IT. So everyone's very, very different when they're given something new to learn. And Welcome's very, very similar to that. So GL Assessment have been fantastic in providing a tool which has got great instructions on it, really well organised. They even have videos on their website that you can go to get further instruction about how to implement the Welcome. However, we know that very few people will read the instructions from cover to cover, seek that guidance online, and then therefore follow effective guidance so that they do that consistently and within the guidance provided so that they use that correctly. So if you want to embed a new way of screening children and you want that to be used consistently and effectively, what you can't do is simply buy that toolkit and send it out to everyone and hope for the best. So I think that's important for you to realise. I mean, some people even, I didn't put the option on of use it as a paperweight and leave it in the corner until somebody comes and knocks on your door and tells you how to use it. But we certainly have seen Welcome toolkits being used in that way. So please don't just send them out and hope for the best. Otherwise, you will get a very inconsistent picture about of the use of that. Okay, so the next slide talks about pre-project, which I'm going to also apologise to Rob for using that term. Perhaps I should have said pre or before you start people on the journey to using this new way of working, this new tool. But I have used the word project because I do think that it is quite a big endeavour, particularly if you're wanting to roll it out across a locality. So I do want to not make it sound a small thing. It is a big endeavour. So first of all, I think you need partnership. Welcome is a language screening tool. It will be administered by early years practitioners in a range of settings, including schools, and it might even be, you might need other people within health or within the third sector, so health visitors, family hub, early years advisory teachers. You need lots of people to know about this tool and to support its implementation. So straight away, you've got multiple teams of people who need to be involved from conception in a partnership approach. So we recommend at the very least you have your specialist speech and language therapy provider in those conversations straight at the beginning. That might be the NHS, or you might in your locality commission another provider. Also your early years settings and your early years schools, your schools that have got early years settings, or perhaps you're going to roll it out right the way through primary as well. Parents would be good to have in partnership as well. Local authority advisory teams, health visiting, other health and third sector services as well, community services. There needs to be a strategy behind this, and you might already have a strategic group that are already behind this and driving this forward, which is fantastic, but make sure that you've got local authority, health and education strategic leads there so that they can make sure that this fits their priorities and they can really help you and support that rollout and embedding. We would suggest that the Welcome forms part of your speech and language therapy pathway. Really important for doing that because it is essentially a language screening tool. Some areas have gone even further, so not just early identification and early intervention, but also to use Welcome as part of their assess, plan, do, review cycle, and even to request that implementation evidence is part of their referral criteria. So it's very much determined by your locality and what you want to achieve alongside your specialist speech and language therapy provider. So from our experience, that wider context and future planning is really important to consider when you're preparing for your journey to using a new tool. Okay, and fully embedding the Welcome. I'll give you a small amount of information about Blackpool, which is an area that we support in the long term, but I know that we've got members here from Blackpool who can probably answer questions on that. So in Blackpool, Welcome's now an integrated part of the early years speech and language therapy pathway with a multidisciplinary triage panel, which can have options around universal and targeted and specialist support once a Welcome screening has taken place. So health visitors and education colleagues routinely use Welcome for children aged 6 months to 5 years, and then they refer in when children are showing some language delay. And so there's a fortnightly monthly triage panel, and we have representation from each intervention service on there. So NHS, from the community-based targeted support, Better Start, ourselves and education colleagues all join that triage panel, and they all using a range of information from the family themselves, from the earlier settings and those supporting them. They use that information to decide which are the best interventions for that child, for that family, or for that earlier setting at that moment in time, and adjust that support package based upon the needs. Okay, next slide, which again says the naughty P word. So we're thinking about when you are going through your driving this forward, what do you need? And I do feel that there needs to be a project plan. And this person, I think this quote comes from Blackburn with Darwin. This person actually feels that you need one person to lead the project for the first 6 to 8 weeks, because they hadn't realised what a big undertaking it was and how much their time was going to be pulled on this project. So you at least need a task and finish group, but this person suggests a person. So think about your why. That's so that you can really motivate the people that you need in your partnership, collaborating on this. So think about what problem it solves for each one of your partners in this, and so that you can really get them motivated to support this. So think about who's going to be in your partnership and make sure those right people are in the room first. What you're hoping to achieve. So setting out your objectives for this will really help you measure and celebrate that success as you go through. And think about realistic timeframes for the project, and then how you're going to monitor the impact of the rollout and monitor the impact of using Wellcome as well, and how you're going to use that data to support long-term sustainable change for your locality. Okay, next one, I'm going to talk briefly about the training and support that you might offer within your locality, or as we found out right at the beginning of my presentation, that you need to make sure is part of your rollout, because otherwise people will leave it in the corner or press buttons and see how they get along. So make sure you lead with the why. That's to make sure that you get people signed up, joined in, get those early implementers knocking on your door wanting to take part in this Wellcome, and then they will help you cascade that out. Think about who you need to train and support. So you might need to train and support the people who are actually going to be using the Wellcome screening tools, but you might also need to then train and support those people who need to understand it so that they can see the potential to fit into their wider services. Or perhaps even think about who needs to understand it deeply so that they can maintain that training and support over time. I know that Liverpool are focusing on a community of practice around Wellcome and putting in place Wellcome champions. So that's perhaps something you could think about as well. Think about what you're going to have within your training. What's the content going to be like? Is it going to be different for the different levels of people who are going to be attending? And make sure that the training and support is bespoke to your local area. That's one thing that we always do, is make sure that those trainings, that this whole training and support and the rollout links to your priorities within the local area, the local support systems that are there already, and the local referral pathways, so that we tie everything all together. Remember that Wellcome measures language skills, so those other speech and communication needs that children have, those practitioners who are using the Wellcome need to be aware of those other needs that they might be aware of, and when and how to refer for those as well. Think about when you need to put in place your training, and then further support. Think about when it's going to be most impactful and how you're going to continue that over the time. And then methods. So the EEF, Education Endowment Foundation, has a guidance on effective professional development. And that says that although you need a crucial element of creating long-term change in practice is training, building knowledge through training. However, it's just one element. And in order to make sure that people embed a practice change over time, you need instructional coaching, you need a learning community, and you need a drip feeding approach to building on prior knowledge and building up that knowledge and skill. So we would strongly advocate using all of these elements within your training and support if you're going to embed the use of Wellcome consistently and effectively. We do offer training both in person and virtual. I think COVID had a myriad of effects on all of our lives, but one of the positives we found is that we're able to reach out and use virtual a little bit more than we did before, and certainly we found that very effective in terms of reach wider audiences. Okay, and keep monitoring as well how your training and support is working, so that you continuously improve your systems as we have done over the years, and then you can find out what's working well and what else is needed. So final slide, please, Paul, which shows some of the feedback that we've received about our support. And this feedback has helped us to continuously improve throughout over the years, and also to pick out the top tips that we've shared with you today. So they talk about having a confident workforce, that's been really helpful, having shared language so that they can plan and support speech and language therapy interventions, having a supported coaching matching their unique needs within their locality has been really helpful, and that the support was systematic and transformative in the implementation of Welcome. So I think that's the end of my presentation, and I'll pass back to Paul. Thank you very much.
Caroline, thank you very much. That was really wonderful, a wonderful run through on the training and support that comes from Communicate. Love the fact that you used the P word as well. That I wasn't the only person that was using that today in project planning and so on, and talking about integrated pathways and experience of how health visitors use Welcome. I can already see some questions in there. So when we come to our question and answer session later on, we'll be dealing with some of those questions for everybody and get some more feedback from the panel. I've also, the very first question that came in today was whether or not we'll be sharing the recording and the slides after the webinar today. And the answer to that is yes, we most certainly will. So so that you're aware that we'll be sending all those out to everybody who's signed on to the webinar. I did say that I would give everybody a 10-minute comfort break. So I think now, because it's 10:45, we'll do that 10-minute comfort break now for everyone, and just allow you to grab a coffee, have a bit of a comfort break, and we'll be back for our third presentation and then into our question and answer session after that. So I'll let everybody go off now for a 10-minute comfort break, and we'll see you back here at 10:55. Thank you.